On this episode of Locked On Lightning, get your brooms out because this is a special sweep edition. But first, let's play that music.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to another episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Denker. Once again, thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for making us your first watch. On today's episode, or this late night episode of wherever you're watching this or listening to this, we're going to be talking about the Lightning finishing off the Florida Panthers, a 2-0 series clinching win in Game 4. Lightning sweep the Panthers to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they will await the winner of the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes. So talking about last night's game, and I tweeted this out before the game, and if you've been watching this team long enough, you kind of just know by now. I tweeted out, so there's no way that the Panthers score tonight, right? And I say that because Andrei Vasilevskiy, in big situations like this, in series clinching games like this, has been almost nearly impossible to get by. This is his 6th career playoff shutout, and he is not anywhere near done doing the things that he has been doing. And really last night, and I've kind of spoken about this throughout the course of the playoffs. I spoke about it on the last pod, but I spoke about how Vasilevskiy, and that was one of the things that was sort of alarming with him throughout the regular season, was that throughout this playoffs, you've seen him very relaxed. As the games go on, there hasn't been a lot of frantic sequences from him, not a lot of opportunities for the opposing team where they catch him out of position. There's not a lot of opportunities for rebounds off shots. Vasilevskiy has been pretty much a vacuum this entire time. You could see him, especially in those chances down in front, where he almost looks like this is just practice for him, which is a scary thing for opposing teams. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that this team as a whole has been doing such a good job of limiting the high danger chances. Uh, we saw during the regular season in which this team struggled with a lot of the traffic that was created down in front for Vasilevskiy. We saw them just at times throw their hands up in the air and not know what to do, and Vasilevskiy more times than not be left out to dry. But what I've spoken about on the last couple of shows, and it's I mean, it's evident now that this team has just been playing. This is the best hockey this team has played all season long. And I said, to a certain degree, I'm almost surprised, because this team over the last 2 years, you don't see this level of play from the Tampa Bay Lightning unless it's the Stanley Cup final. And the fact that this team has hypothetically 2 more rounds to go, 8 more wins before they could call themselves a 3-time defending Stanley Cup champion. It's a little scary, and because at the same time, as much as we're happy and we're excited about what this team has accomplished and how well they are playing, you don't want them to burn out too quickly. A team can only play this well for a certain amount of time, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We're just going to celebrate the Lightning sweeping their in-state and division rivals, in which was a really fantastic series, and a series that really, what came down to it wasn't offense, it was defense. It was the Lightning doing the right things at the right time. And the one thing that has stuck out to me over the course of this series, at least, and that really what it comes down to, is one of the reasons why the Lightning have been a successful franchise over the last couple of years, and that's their ability to clog up the passing lanes. you saw in this game, 18 blocks for the Lightning. And that goes hand in hand with what Vasilevskiy is doing. Vasilevskiy is one of those goaltenders where he is more susceptible to really bad goals if he's just standing around doing nothing. But if he gets a couple of shots here and there, they'll build up the confidence. They'll just build up a lot of things. He'll get hot real quick, but you don't want him to get shots repeatedly over and over again hit at him in succession, and because that will leave a goaltender open to being overwhelmed, and then that obviously leads to bad goals and a lot of goals within a short period of time. 49 saves last night. Like I said, that is a lot of shots. I mean, looking at that's facing almost 50 shots is a lot, but at the same time, when it's spread out through the course of a game, that is manageable, even for a goaltender like Vasilevskiy. But yeah, a large part of that has to do with the Lightning's ability to block shots. Obviously, this game you could tell it was a lot more physical. It was a lot more defensive minded. I spoke about it in the previous episode that really the Panthers were going to come out and try and overwhelm the Lightning early on, and we did see that. They had almost, I would say probably, let's look at the shots right now, but the Lightning didn't even hit the double-digit shot mark until, I believe, midway through the second period, which was wild to think about. The Lightning only had 3 shots on net in the first period, as opposed to Florida's 18, and then the Lightning kind of ramped up that number in the second period, had 12, and then had 11. The Lightning, and someone reached out to me during the game, and they said, aren't you a little concerned that, the Lightning only have 3 shots or they're just taking so many few chances? And I said, really what it comes down to is that this game isn't about what the Lightning do. This is more so about what the Panthers were going to do. And if the Lightning were able to weather the storm, because the intensity level, the energy that the Panthers were bringing for the first 60 minutes, that's not sustainable. Well, for the first 40 minutes, excuse me, that's not something that is sustainable. Just because this team, they had some good chances to score, but at the same time, they the more you don't are able to cash in on that, the more frustrated your team's going to get, and you're just going to try and force anything. And then those shots that they were shooting at Vasilevskiy here and there, those weren't good chances. At that point, you're just throwing anything towards the net to see if anything will work. But on the other side of that, like I said, the Lightning's ability to clog up the shooting lanes, their ability to not get sucked into the stupid penalties, which we saw they did a very good job of for the most part in this game. This was really a perfectly well managed game by John Cooper and co, as well as this veteran group of Lightning players. Like I said, it really came down to more were the Lightning going to be able to handle the onslaught of attack and physical play that the Panthers were going to throw their way, because they're a desperate team. They were backed into a corner, and the Lightning had nothing to lose in this situation, other than the series getting extended to Game 5. So they did a very good job of playing well within themselves, and that just shows how ready this team is and how close they are to achieving a third straight Stanley Cup championship. So we're going to talk more about this game, as well as what lies ahead for the Tampa Bay Lightning in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about our first and only sponsor of the day, and that is Built Bar. Now, these Lightning games are going to be late. They're going to be long in terms of how long these games take, whether it's a penalty filled game. And you definitely want to have some snacks and refreshments around you while you're watching these games. And there's nothing, especially with summer right around the corner, there's nothing better and healthier and better tasting that I could think of to eat during these Lightning games than Built Bar. Well, Built Bar, they only have 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, and only 7 grams of sugar. And the best part is that they have all different flavors. You could either pick 3 just to start off, or you could just mix and match. So you could try all the flavors. They also are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of healthy benefits. Go to built.com, get all your favorite flavors, or try any of the flavors that you may like. Now go to built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get that 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you're staying right here. If you're listening to us on an audio platform, you're coming back from the break. And just a reminder, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the podcast. Give us a follow wherever podcasts are distributed. Go ahead and follow us on our social media pages at @LO_Lightning, as well as LockedOn_Lightning on Instagram. And go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter at DenkyDank. That's DENKYD8NK. I love hearing from all of you. The enthusiasm around this podcast has been absolutely nuts. The support you guys have given us on our YouTube page as well. If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe to that. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, drop a like, drop a comment, ask questions about about the Lightning, who we think we're still going to be doing our Locked On Lift segment. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, what a fantastic game from the Lightning. It was a little frustrating at first, and I tweeted out that the fix was in, because at the same time, you kind of figured that Vasilevskiy was going to show up and do his thing, which we're so accustomed to him doing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You kind of figured, and I'm not so much accusing the league or the refs, but this was, for the most part, not an exciting series. If you're looking at from someone, we're going to put on our Gary Bettman hat right now, but this is the kind of series that you have and just in general with the playoffs. Let me backtrack. So with the playoffs, obviously the league has sponsorship deals, they have TV deals, they want to stretch, they want all these series, whether if you ask any official or executive in the NHL, they will maybe not give you this answer, but in the back of their minds, this is what they're thinking. They want every series of the playoffs to go 7, because the longer the series are, the longer the playoff stays on for, the more money the league makes. And especially when you have 2 big rivalries going on, the Battle of Alberta with Calgary and Edmonton, and then also the Battle of the Sunshine State with, of course, Florida and Tampa. You want those series to be crazy. You want them to go 7 games. And obviously that didn't happen. And part of that has to do with just the Panthers are burnt out. And we've seen this from almost every President's Trophy winning team, Lightning included, a couple of years ago in 2019, getting swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets after winning the President's Trophy. It's just that's to play at that level all season long, and then to go in the regular season, go into the playoffs, and be expected to win the Stanley Cup. It's nearly impossible. Your team gets burnt out, and you saw it here. This Florida Panthers team was, for the most part, a shell of themselves. I honestly expected more, and I'm not going to sit here and bash the Florida Panthers. I know, as much as one would like to, given the rivalry between the two teams. And I was talking with Locked On Panthers host last night, Armando Velez, and I was telling him, we were going back and forth just talking about the series, and I was telling him, I said, listen, you look at every team that has won the President's Trophy, except for those, I believe it was 2013, 2014 Chicago Blackhawks. Those teams are just, it takes a special kind of team to be at the top of the NHL mountain during the regular season and be able to carry that over. And guys just can't play at that level for that long of time through an 82 game season, as well as now in today's world with everything with COVID and just everything that involves. And it's just not feasible. And we've spoken about it here on this pod, but when the Lightning were in a position, or at one point during the regular season, we're in the President's Trophy conversation. it's not a trophy that's worth it, especially when there's other trophies to be won. I mean, that's why this Lightning team is so great. I mean, their mentality, especially with individual awards, is that anytime, especially over the last couple of years, when you have Hedman and Vasilevskiy missing out on awards, there's the mentality is there's always there's only one trophy that counts, and I think that oftentimes teams during the regular season that are in the President's Trophy race, um, they get caught in the hype and uh, that and the allure that is the President's Trophy, which I don't understand why. I mean, I'm sure if you were going to ask a fan of any team now, would you rather set the NHL record for most points in a season, or would you rather win a Stanley Cup? And I think that the answer is not only logical but easy to answer there. But yeah, I mean, fantastic series from the Panthers. They were just one of those teams where they just didn't have it. Their time will come, unfortunately, in a couple of years. They're one of those teams that are just so good. They have a lot of good players. Um, I think at one point you'll kind of start to see the shift in power in the NHL. As much as and I told Armando Velez this, as much as we would love to see the Lightning win the Stanley Cup every year, I mean, it's just not sustainable. If they win three, and then if they win this year and then they win next year, that's great. And winning five in a row would be absolutely insane. Um, we might just need to do a 24-hour live show at that point. But I just think that this team is too good to for this to be the height of their success. They have a lot of good young players that are going to be there for a very long time, and you're going to see a different Panthers team next year in terms of how they pace themselves. I think also it had to do with maybe the coaching. I know that if you're not aware, their original head coach to start the season was Joseph Quenneville. With everything that went on with the Blackhawks organization back in the day, with that whole scandal that we don't need to get into, he was, I guess, off the top of my head, I don't remember or not he was involved or aware at some capacity and failed to report it, and then that's why he stepped down with the Panthers organization. The backup, the assistant coach or the coach that was hired with them, he's done a very good job this year. It still takes a coach to be able to navigate a team through an 82 game season. A very good coach, especially winning a President's Trophy. So there is some talk I've heard that he might be the coach, he might be the guy there next year, or we might see somebody else. But I don't know. I just think that this Panthers team, they're very good. So tip of the cap to them. But you know what? They just didn't have it in the playoffs, and they ran into a team who has been here many times, who knows how to get the job done, and we'll definitely be seeing them in the playoffs over the next couple of years. So not to worry if you need to get more of your fix of the Battle of Sunshine State. So looking ahead in the playoffs, now we're gonna have to wait on the Rangers and the Hurricanes, and looking at this series, we're not going to talk too much about them, but we already pointed out who we want on the social media page. We want Carolina just because, in my opinion, I feel like there's two things that come into play with this, and we'll talk more about it to end the show. But the two things that come into play with this is that I think, regardless of what you think about Carolina in terms of how the Lightning matched up with them during the regular season, I just think that the Lightning are more familiar with this team. They play them better. The Lightning played against them last year in the playoffs, so there's also that level of familiarity as well. On the other side of that, I think also with the Hurricanes, their goalie situation is iffy. It's good enough for them to get to this round, of course, but in a 7-game series against Andrei Vasilevskiy and co., I think that's a better matchup rather than facing Igor Shesterkin and this young, spunky Rangers team, who they're one of those teams that are a wild card. I still think, regardless of either team the Lightning face in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that the Lightning have the same equal percentage of chance of winning. But I just think that when it comes down to it, is that I think that, especially with the regular season, what happened then, the Lightning struggled immensely against the Rangers. But we're in a different stage of the year now, so things might be different. But right now, if you're asking me right now who I want the Lightning to play, it'll be Carolina. And currently, right now, as I record this episode on Tuesday night, the Rangers are up 2-0 in game 4, excuse me. So I guess we're gonna see a long series here. I wouldn't be surprised if this series was 7. So we'll talk more about this in just a little bit. But first, for those of you on the audio platform, you're gonna take a little break. And on YouTube, you're staying with us right now, and then the people who are listening to us on the audio platform, you're back right now. So we're wrapping up the show real quick, talking about this Rangers Hurricane series, because yes, the Lightning will have to play one of these two teams. We're gonna watch later tonight, and I'll talk about it on tomorrow's pod what I saw from these two teams. But I just feel like I said, I think that the Hurricanes are a better matchup. I just think in terms of the goalie situation right now, and I know Igor Shesterkin hasn't looked incredibly stellar throughout this playoffs, but he is one of those goaltenders, judging from what he did during the regular season, I would rather take my chances with the Hurricanes and their goalie situation there. But in the meantime, the Lightning will be able to rest up, which I think is fantastic, getting this series done early, just because the way this team has played, blocking shots, clogging the shooting lanes, doing a fantastic job. This whole series, especially with the Maple Leaf series prior, this team is beat up, so they're going to be able to relax for a couple of days, and then they'll be back on the ice. I think probably I would say maybe Thursday or Wednesday. I think John Cooper had them on the ice today, or no, he had them on. He's going to have them on the ice Wednesday. So that's at least they're. I think, but I think it will be It'll be voluntary. So not everybody will show up, but guys will still show up for treatment if they need it. Guys like Steven Stamkos, who blocked a ton of shots. Guys like Brandon Hagel, Corey Perry, who got hit in the head by his own puck. Nick Paul, who was laboring in game 3. We spoke about that. And I'm sure there's injuries that guys are going through right now that we're not even aware of that definitely need to be attended to. So this is, as much as I'm a little bit hesitant about wrapping series up unless it's the Stanley Cup final, fast, just because you don't want to be sitting around for 3, 4, 5 days and then having to jump into a thick of a series against a team who's really hot. I think right now at this point in time, the way this team is playing, I think this is the best thing for them. I think going into the next series in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think just unless this series is wrapped up, unless the Hurricanes win tonight somehow and then they wrap up game 5, I think that you're going to see a little bit of rust from this Lightning team in the opening period or so, just because that's just what comes in with being on the couch that long. We've spoken about practice, how you can't really simulate game speed that well, especially because you're not going 100 miles per hour against your own guys. But great series from the Lightning, great game on game 4 from the Lightning. This team is playing spectacular in all facets of the game. And now they get to relax and watch these two teams beat up on each other in the next couple of days. And we will talk about it on the next pod and the next pod until we finally have an opponent and maybe some of the matchups that we'll see in the upcoming Eastern Conference Finals. So that's been it for this episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Denker. I'll talk to you in the next one.